So they like there's buildings falling and stuff, and they're fighting like submarines, and like there's gonna be like aliens in like the 12th one probably.
See,
but they're all in cars.
See, that to me is awful.
I want to agree with you, but I do not. It's all about family and business. And
really?
Family and business.
Welcome to Grande Bouffe.
The Big Feast.
With myself, Cole Smithey, and my co-host, Mike Lacy. As always, we are here to copiously consume international politics and culture through the prism of a single film and a different craft beer. This week's film, Jordan Peele's Get Out.
Cole, I don't think we're ready for this. I'm nervous. This is probably the most important, controversial movie we could be doing right now. Like, we're gonna do what we can. It's gonna be fun and interesting. This kind of like this makes me a little nervous.
Oh, talking about Get Out's gonna make you nervous?
It makes me a little nervous.
Why?
Well, maybe it's the white liberal in me that doesn't want to fuck up. No, we do movies that are usually not just in theaters. We've done a couple. We did Moonlight, with Armand White. But this one is just us. We're talking about Get Out, which is an extremely culturally relevant, and just talked about film. Like it's I've had a conversation about it probably every day for the past 2 weeks or more.
Great. Yeah, I know a bunch of people who have seen it as well, and this was on my list of top 12 promising movies for 2017. It didn't quite live up to my hopes, but I enjoyed it. I just wish that I think that the script needed a few more rewrites. I think that the ending is pretty weak, but I think the first act is great. I really love the first act of it.
So we talk about culture through the lens of a different film, but we also just talk about the film itself, the movie itself. I kind of want to make an effort to like divide this one into two.
Okay.
I want to talk about what this movie means, why right now.
But you got to talk about
our feeling about it.
You got to talk about the beer too.
Well, I'll get there in 1 second.
Okay.
1 second.
Okay. Take your time.
Just to talk about like the meaning of it and what Peele is like trying to say, and like what it means to like us and like as who we are, and B, it as a movie that is in acts and has to deliver on certain sort of concepts and stuff like that. We are drinking a beer that I picked out because I wanted to pick the whitest, the most. Are they in Connecticut? Where are they? They upstate. They're like in the movie. They leave town to her family's house, and I thought this.
It's Whitesville.
It's Whitesville.
It's Stepford Wives, except this is more Stepford families with a certain secret.
And so I got Samuel Smith Old Brewery Tadcaster, the celebrated oatmeal stout. Because I thought that there's if Allison and Brian Williams drink anything with whatever his wife and her mother's name is, it's probably some oatmeal stout. That and some white wine, I'm gonna guess.
It does look like a white people's beer, and Samuel Smith could not be whiter. Old Brewery Tadcaster, the celebrated oatmeal stout. The Old Brewery Samuel Smith Tadcaster, product of England.
So where to start with this movie?
Okay, so
I wanted to jump into who's Jordan Peele.
Let's talk about Key and Peele.
So exactly. So Jordan Peele is most known as being the second part of, or I don't know, first, in the title,
equal partner,
equal partner to Keegan-Michael Key. They're a comedy duo. They have a Comedy Central bit. I believe they started as a UCB team, and they're kind of the biggest duo in comedy right now. And they
are comic geniuses. They are undeniably they are comic titans.
Key and Peele, I don't think I'm the only one who's like this. I don't even have cable. I don't watch the show in totem. I'll just see sketches one off, and they're the most brilliant, amazing things
they have a website. I linked to it on my site, and you can see endless episodes. I've watched so many episodes on their site, and they really they remind me of the South Park guys. They're every bit equal to Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
So they also
in their satire.
They also get talked about in the context of Dave Chappelle and the Chappelle Show. And I know Dave Chappelle is like not the biggest fan of them. He feels like they stole his format, and it's a bit of his social space in a certain way. And I think there's also a bit of a conception that, at least prior to this movie, that they were a bit less like political than him, or not political than like trying to draw like a racial social commentary. With Chappelle's Show, which was, I'd like to hear like your opinion on it. It was very like seminal for me and for everyone in my group, and it was, and importantly because it was this complete like apex of like white culture and black culture merging, and like everyone agreeing something was funny, though perhaps for different reasons. And it also led to a lot of like white kids like saying bits that really like you probably like can't get away with, especially not now. And I'll say one thing is the parents in Get Out, and maybe even the daughter Allison Williams, would probably be really familiar with Chappelle's Show and like would quote it at length. And so so Key and Peele, I think, are kind of seen as in Jordan Peele, as part of that, as a bit of a more sort of like neuter, like everyone can get along, perhaps like less
more mainstream,
not as much like commentary as much as there was explicit commentary in Chappelle's Show. And then Get Out comes out.
Well, I just want to say I think it's too bad that there's this chasm between Chappelle and these guys, because I think that they should get together and work together and create something. I think they're awesome, but I also understand personality conflicts, and you got big egos in the room and big ideas floating around in the culture that these guys are taking credit for, and maybe he sees them as rivals. I don't see them as rivals at all, and I think especially because Key and Peele have such a synergy that they create when they work together. And I find their stuff to be really subversive and really hard hitting and really scathing, and they deep dive, these guys. They don't muck about. They go deep.
And they have a way of embracing a form that like everyone can get behind and enjoy. Like, let's just like talk about the Barack Obama's anger translator thing.
Sure.
Which was even at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Right.
And so that was key in that one.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make a mistake of acting like the
now that you let the cat out of the bag, you have to tell what happened.
Right. That's what happened is so this was a sketch that they had done together where Peele would play Obama, and then they actually did it, and then Key did it with
President Obama.
With President Obama, where Obama says something very measured, very straightforward, very you couldn't ever say that he is an angry black man and like falling into those social stereotypes where you would be dismissed. And then Keegan-Michael Key would shout and scream like what he really meant and what was behind that. And I think it really shined a light on the fact that, yeah, we do have things that we like a black man, a way that a black man can act. Where with, I don't know, if a completely uneducated white man who happened to be a billionaire
Donald Trump,
a billion times worse things.
Oh yeah.
And not only like said them inarticulately, but said them things that were actually horrible and terrible about human beings, he'd be elected president. But Barack Obama could not speak in that way that would be seen as being.
Yeah, that's pretty much a mic drop right there, Dave Chappelle. I'm sorry, Dave. You got left out. You got hung out to dry on that one.
Yeah, it's hard to say that they're not making like relevant commentary when they're doing things like that.
Yeah. But this is Jordan Peele's directorial debut. He wrote and directed the film, and he is really taking out the trash on the Obama liberals.
Right. This is not a white people suck movie necessarily, although I guess it is by extension, like all, even you liberal people, but it is specifically about the family of a woman who a character, a young black man is dating. She takes him home, and to introduce
to her Obama-loving parents.
You know, and she's like, my dad's probably going to tell you that he would have voted for Obama for a third term.
Which he does tell him.
And it's Bradley Whitford, and it's...
doing his best David Fincher impersonation.
With the goatee. And
it's awesome. Yeah. He's so diabolical.
And Catherine Keener, who I love in fucking everything.
Yeah, she's great. She's great.
She's amazing in this.
Oh.
And Allison Williams is the girlfriend, and I'm like fucking up with the boyfriend's name because I haven't seen him in that many things except for Black Mirror. If you can pull up his name, because I really want to give him credit for what he's doing, because it's a really fantastic performance.
So yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's Kaluuya, I believe. He's a British actor, Daniel Kaluuya. Is the guy that you're looking for, and he's terrific. I love the casting of the movie, and I just want to put it out there that what I really enjoy about the beginning of the movie is the relationship between these two, because
very natural,
enviable,
even.
Yeah, and so I feel like. You know, I'm talking about the movie, you know, now because we have to switch between our different modes. So I really feel like the story loses her input. And, you know, we have all these scenes at the parties where he's, you know, talking to all these white people from the hood, from the very nice white neighborhood that is.
That neighborhood.
Yes. And where's the girlfriend? She's not around.
Yeah,
and I really, you know, was bothered by that, because I felt like that was just lazy screenwriting, because it would have been so much more interesting to see those scenes played out for her input and how she would react, how she would respond, how she would guide the conversation, all that stuff that you just don't get a chance to see, all the would-be interaction between them. I felt like the thing that the movie misses is I needed to understand their relationship more.
So you brought that complaint up to me even before I actually saw the movie. So I was thinking about that while seeing it.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting complaint. Allison Williams, who, like, basically, I mean, spoiler alert, I guess at this point, stop listening if you haven't seen it. Enough people have seen it that I think plenty of people see it. But go ahead and stop. Yeah. All right? You stopped. Cool. So Allison Williams plays, in essence, two characters. I think she plays both of them really compellingly and awesome.
Uh-huh.
She plays the Brooklyn liberal arts girlfriend of this guy. He's a photographer. He's a nice guy who doesn't seem to like talk about himself that much or like where he's from. You know, he's a bit of a blank slate that I think people project onto.
Absolutely.
And she is brilliant in their dynamic in these sequences where she's kind of teasing him. She says she wants to bring him home. They're coming home, and he's like, "Have you told your parents that I'm black?" And the way she teases him about him being nervous about this just feels so real and cute, and she's like perfectly in that moment. And I'm really impressed by her acting. Cut to Act 3. She's been fucking faking this the whole time. She has all these photos of black guy that she's brought home who are being fucking conked over the head, hypnotized by the mom in the other reverse order, having their brains scooped out, and having another white person's fucking like consciousness like stuck into their brain by her neurosurgeon father, which is like really like that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And she's just fucking committed to this, and she's a complete psycho who is eating Fruit Loops, you know, the colored Fruit Loops, and then drinking milk, but not mixing them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's very interesting imagery there. There's, and like what you're pointing out is like, where do these two characters meet?
Yeah.
And like that, I don't want to say that would be the movie, you know, but it's like that's almost a movie in itself.
Yeah,
sort of.
Well, I feel like
because she plays two characters, and there are no seconds of her connecting. There's an immediate twist where she has those car keys, and she's like, I can't give you those.
Yeah,
and it's a heavy reveal. It's like boom, it's a mic drop again. But it's like
the filmmaker, he does this thing where the poor guy gets pawned off from the girlfriend to the parents, and then that's it. And it could have been better.
That's what I'm saying.
It could have been better.
And I think it's because every one of those interactions, you have to be able to double play her behavior. You'd have to have her do it in a way that makes sense for the first part, maybe leave a seed for the second part, but you want that twist, that reveal. And like,
well,
I'm not excusing it. I'm saying it's a more interesting, complete movie.
You would get a lot more out of the character switch at the end. You would get a lot more out of it if you had been able to invest more into it before then. You would get a much stronger reversal.
I'd say by that point, you're not fully doubting her, but you're also not that committed to their relationship. You're ready for him to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, no question.
I think you would want
her name. Her name is Rose, and his name is Chris, and so I think it's very telling that the title of the film, "Get Out." I think that Jordan Peele really is making this statement about the state of America, where it's time to get out. He's not beating around the bush. He's really making a statement with this movie, and I like that. I mean, it's a challenging idea, and the movie comes on really strong in the beginning as this attack on Obama liberals and Clinton liberals.
And you know who loves that shit? Obama liberals, Clinton liberals.
Oh, they love you. Sure, it's about them. It's about them. It's about them.
And who am I talking to about this movie? Like, yeah, it's like the kids of those people. Yeah, it's like, and I think he knew he was going to have this problem because even a lot of he brought on a team on this movie. It was the producers of like Insidious, and so it's got some definitely those new horror chops to it.
Yeah, see, to me that's the weak part of the film, is that it gets so goofy at the end. It just goes all goofy B-movie.
Because there's not
crazy.
There's not a reveal of a supernatural thing. There's a reveal of a plot that's based in like the supernatural,
moving brains, switching brains between people.
So you have a suspension of disbelief that comes from the hypnotism. Kathleen Keener, who really plays like a terrific hypnotist.
You will never listen to a teaspoon being stirred in a teacup again.
I think her portrayal and what's being written and kind of performed by her is an indictment on white female liberals that I kind of haven't seen before. Like this complicitness or even like masterminding behind the oppression of black people, where typically you see the if you're talking about slavery, you're gonna see white male slaveholders. If you're talking about the people who pass the laws to make the prisons biased towards them, to make the courts biased against black Americans, it's white guys doing it. There's this intentionality and complicitness that like Kathleen Keener's character, and the sort of symbolism of that in this movie that's so symbolically charged and critical of white people, that's really new. And I think that's the most shocking thing. Like, you see Bradley Whitford in a movie like this, and you get like, okay, yeah, he's got some like shit up his sleeve, he's not actually over his father or grandfather's grudge of losing against Jesse Owens, you know, but
yeah, Bradley Whitford is the father who is the David Fincher lookalike, who's the mastermind genius surgeon who's doing these brain transplants with candles around in the room. Did I mention there were candles in the operating room?
Yeah, that's a little wonky. But to my point is like, it's not that his wife is a tool of his master plan. Like, that's a way to write this movie, and I feel like the 70s sort of like black white exploitation version of this movie is that like he's a mad scientist that wants to prove he can do this. Like, no, it's like they seem equal partners in this, and in fact, all white people in it seem equal partners, and there's really not a redeeming white character at all in this movie.
No.
And you're set up to think that there is going to be one.
Yeah.
There is a blind man, Stephen fucking Root, who is never not the most amazing. You'll know him as Milton from Office Space. He's the fucking best, and he's blind.
Yeah, yeah.
And he is an art dealer. What a beautiful novel.
Yeah. That's
and
nice.
He
That's nice.
Loves Chris's photos because Chris. They showed his photos at the beginning. Like, Chris's photos are too good to be just like a guy in Brooklyn. Like, he would be very famous. Like, they're great photos. And this blind art dealer, Stephen Root, wants to do a gallery show with him, I believe. He's like super into him, and you're like, oh, like what a symbolically loaded, maybe even heavy-handed thing that the blind person is the one who really sees him and is like, you're having a shitty time at this party. All these people are making you feel weird, right? Guess what? He likes Chris so much because he wants to put his fucking brain in his head and see through his eyes because he's just goddamn trying to use him like everybody else.
What? I think we're going to have to go back and see The Stepford Wives, which is clearly the inspiration for this movie, and that's Ira Levin's film. He based on Ira Levin's novel, and get the resonance between The Stepford Wives and this film. It's a 1975 movie. It was remade, I think, in 2002.
Was Nicole Kidman in that? Who is that?
Yes, that's Nicole Kidman. And not,
come on, Nicole. Nicole, you're killing it now.
Not very good. But I think really, in order for us to have the full perspective on this film, we have to watch the Stepford Wives, and which
I think I need to be black to get the full perspective.
Which William Goldman wrote the screenplay for. Well, to this film's credit, here's what I have to say about the movie that I really got out of it, and I really was very impactful for me, was that I did get that feeling of what it must be like to be black in a when you're just surrounded by white people. You know, to be a black person in this country, and you cannot express yourself. You have to be so careful about how you express yourself and how you carry yourself, and you really get that in this movie. And that to me is, I mean, it's a very subtle thing, but it's there. It's unmistakably there in this movie, and that's there's a lot to this film's credit in that it can make you get a taste of that.
A taste of it.
Yeah.
And so what I've heard, and I don't have a first person source on this, but the ending which you critiqued, and is it specifically what happens right at the end where his friend, who's the comic relief for the movie, Chris's friend, who is kind of putting the pieces together.
He's a TSA agent.
He's a TSA agent. The first line of defense, their budget just got caught a lot, but that's only because our president really wants us to be secure. He shows up, the cop car shows up after Chris is at a crime scene with at least 3 or 4 dead white people bodies.
Yeah.
And and the cop car shows up, so you're like, oh, he's fucked.
Yeah.
And it's his friend.
Yeah.
Well, my understanding is that the original, if not filmed version, at least written version, is that that's the actual police. And that's the real movie, you know? And I think it's less commercial, and I think fewer people probably tell their friends to go see it.
And they shoot him?
I don't know if they shoot him or if he's arrested and put in jail for the rest of his life, but either is kind of the same.
Is the same, yeah.
The same thing in a certain way. And that's the real story here.
Sure.
So that's an interesting choice to me. Is that a purely commercial choice?
Absolutely. Sounds like it to me. You know, the tone of the movie, I like the comic relief.
That's hearsay on the original version, supposedly, but like, let's go with that.
Yeah, I hear you. But I just feel like the movie, it overextends itself. The Stepford Wives, William Goldman wrote the screenplay for that film, and I think what we're going to find when we look at that movie is, that's a really well scripted, the dialogue, everything is where it's supposed to be. This movie feels like he got a really good running start at it, and then a little bit into the second act, he had to hurry up and finish it.
So, yeah, this is why I want to split in half. I think this movie is extremely important. I'll recommend anyone to see it. I think it's could never be more relevant, and like, and I think it accomplishes a lot of things and will have more change to society than Moonlight. Like and like to bring up the film last year that was sort of talked about as like the black movie, which to your point, to Armand's point, there should not be the black movie. Right. Nothing deserves like that. Honor in a sense. It should be. Just plenty of movies that happen to be made by black people, but I think this year Get Out will be talking about that movie, and last year it was Moonlight.
Oh, I hope there is a lot more. And with the success that this film is having, it seems pretty certain that Jordan Peele is going to be writing and directing another film. I just hope that he takes his time a little bit more, because this one feels rushed. The end of it just feels like it was rushed.
I think he will. I think if Keanu was their first like foray into movies, did you see Keanu?
I did. I loved Keanu.
I loved Keanu too, and it was, I think, even a less perfect movie than this, but it was an extended. It was sketches like sewn together.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing that I'll say about, and I hate having to like lump them together, but in some ways, like, Get Out was the first that we got to see, in a large way of one of them without the other. But like, they are certainly people who want to like master things in their own right. I don't think that they want to just make like, okay, we're good at sketches, so how do we just make a movie that's just only sketches? Keanu was a bit of that, but also more. And this is,
well, where's Dave Chappelle's movie? Has he written and directed a movie?
Half Baked. It was before Chappelle's show.
Okay.
It was all right.
Long time.
No, it was. I mean, it was great. It was great. Like, I loved it.
Yeah, it's a long time. It's a long time ago.
Well, he just dropped a Netflix.
Yeah, when is that coming out?
It's out. My boss is raving about it today.
Is it episodic? What is it?
Apparently, it's episodic.
Is it 2 seasons worth, or how many episodes?
I don't understand. Like, it seems like it's one of the, Netflix has done an odd amount of things to drop, but this isn't about Dave Chappelle, you guys. I guess my point was, I have a lot of faith in Jordan Peele being very honest about what he does, because there's a lot to be said about someone who comes from the point of view of satire, someone who has his own faults and went a way that I don't think anybody's envious of. Woody Allen started making satirical sketches on like Sid Caesar, and he talked about how parody and satire, and I think parody is actually more what I meant. Parody is a very valuable teaching mechanism to understand how to mimic these forms in an abbreviated format, and to teach you those tropes and those tools in a really accelerated way, where if you have to go totally earnest in a single genre and like figure out how to make a fucking like horror movie like in total, by the time you get all the funding and do all that, your lessons to fucking like pain in the ass things that you have to do don't factor out. So I think people can go really far in like what we'd call like legitimate filmmaking, not just like this. I don't think this is the end of Jordan Peele making a movie that's important and well made. I think they'll continue to be even
well
better.
I hope so, but there's no there's no second guessing anything, and I wish that this film were better than it is. I really, it's a good first effort.
Let's talk about it as a movie. That's all that preface to be like, yeah, this movie's fucking flawed.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope that he takes a little more time and really makes, because I feel like he could have made this movie 100%. This movie could have been really powerful, but the tone gets a little lost. It doesn't end on the same tone that it starts out on, and you get a lot of enticing dialogue in the beginning that makes it seem like, wow, this movie's gonna pack a punch, and then the pacing gets really slack. Did you notice that once you get into the second act, you feel like the pacing is just slipping all over the place?
Now it's like it takes like a weird chronological sidestep with the hypnotism, which is well done. I thought that hypnotism is extremely, like, there's something very powerful about it. Like,
yeah,
I felt like
I liked it too.
I felt like it was when I'm like too high and I feel like I'm gonna be stuck in my unconscious forever, and it's like fucking awful. But then it's almost like the screenwriting got caught up in that too, and not in a helpful way. I'm not sure how long he's there, and I do agree that, like, if this were a normal movie, you'd be like, where the fuck. And this is your point. You know, I'm kind of trying to give it too much credit when I say this. Where the fuck does his girlfriend go?
Yeah.
Is she like polishing her gun?
Yeah.
You know, is she also a bit hypnotized? You know, it's like, give me more of that.
Yeah, I wanted her to be more active in bringing him along. You know, what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen, is they're putting this black kid up for auction. It's modern day slavery, and they're selling him to the highest bidder, and they've got all their rich white friends over to bid on this black guy.
And they're not interested in just having him be a slave. They're gonna put their brains in his head, which. Yeah, is also like
to B movie. It's just too 50s B movie-ish. The Blob.
I mean, like, you know, maybe there's a symbolic like resonance to that because you turn you into a sellout who's going to join the neighborhood. Like, you know, the first character we're introduced to is a black man who is kind of lost in the neighborhood, and we run into later he's been brainwashed seemingly, but it turns out he had his brain injected. So I guess it's a
he had his brain ejected. Is that what you said?
I forget what I said.
I liked it. He had his brain
ejected. It's sort of like what white culture really wants you to do is like, sure, you can make a bunch of money, you can become like Tiger Woods, and you can live here, but you're going to be white, like on the inside. Like, you're actually a white person. You don't retain whatever it means to be a black person.
Yeah, I wonder what Tiger Woods would think of this film.
Yeah.
You know? Wow.
I mean, Tiger Woods is a fucking psychopath. I don't care what he thinks.
Yeah. But, you know, it would, have him watch the movie and then come on the podcast. That would be fun.
Tiger, if you're out there and if you didn't listen to what I just said, we'd love to have you. We'll let you pick the beer and the movie. We can watch Tin Cup. It'll be great.
But yeah, I mean, of the films that have come out so far in 2017, I like this one, and I liked Kedi. If any of you get to see the movie about
the cat movie,
the Turkish cat movie.
Oh, I want to see that. I saw Logan. I like Logan a lot.
Yeah, maybe I'll check Logan out. I did not like Kong with no dong.
Oh, they CGI his dong?
Well, no, they don't have to. They just don't give him one.
No, I think they have to make one and then they remove it.
He has no package.
Well, it's a real ape, right?
Don't they have those things?
They have those 300-foot tall.
No, he's CGI. He's all CGI.
I saw a still image. Which maybe it was an article about something. Does Brie Larson work? Okay, her character, does she work for MTV News?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right. So what I saw was a Photoshop thing, because I saw a still of her in that movie, and she had a microphone, and it had.
But she is an insufferable peace reporter. She's not a war reporter. She's a peace reporter.
What is the period of that movie?
It's 70s.
So
like it's it's early 70s. It's right after Watergate.
So it's funny we're talking. Oh, cool. Well, yeah, it's very Vietnam-y looking.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh yeah, they're playing so hard off of Heart of Darkness. It's not funny.
Major films right now, very interesting. I Instagram recently when I was at the theater, and there was 4 movie posters in a row. It was. I mean, there might even be 5 of them. It was Get Out,
Mm-hmm.
King Kong,
Mm-hmm.
Beauty and the Beast,
Kong, Skull Island, Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, Rise of the Planet of the Apes,
Okay.
and Wonder Woman.
Wow.
And like all of these are, the art depicts it as, even like Wonder Woman in a certain way, as aren't these things you're kind of scared of, you know?
Right.
Like, aren't these subversive things that, like, what if this happened? You know? And first of all of these are franchises. Get Out being a reboot of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. All of these are pre-existing franchises, and they're all, you know, and just right now we are very explicitly dealing with it. And if I were to give our country a grade, I'd say fucking D-. Like, it's like we're talking about it.
Are you talking about Hollywood?
No, I think Hollywood's doing all right. It's whatever. But
are you out of your mind after what you just said? Hollywood's no. I thought you were grading Hollywood. I want to grade Hollywood. Okay. Hollywood, I give you an F-. I
don't think Hollywood's ever doing great, whatever. But I as a people, we're doing F-. Is what I'm saying. Is like it's like these things are in the zeitgeist. We're talking about.
Well, I want to see. I want to see. I want to see.
Better,
I want to see T2. I want to see Transporter 2. Or not. When I say Transporter,
I also want to see.
I have drank way too much.
Transport 2.
Train Spotting 2.
What? That's the fucking whitest fucking thing to ever come out. Train Spotting 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, here you go. Here you go.
I want to see Fast 8, The Fate of the Furious. That's what I...
When does that come out?
April 15th, I believe.
Is it already? Really? It's in less than 3 weeks.
That's so amazing. Excited.
Oh, good.
I've
Good.
I don't know why I haven't mentioned this before. I've developed a very earnest passion for the Fast and the Furious franchise.
I like the first couple of them.
Oh, those are the worst. No, Cole, you don't know anything. It's all.
No, I don't.
It's all about 4, 5, 6, 7, especially 4, 5, 4 and 5, and 6.
Where the stunts just get more.
It's becoming. It started as like.
I liked it when the guy jumped off the bridge.
Oh, so
Is that Vin Diesel?
Oh, and grabs his girlfriend. And which bridge thing? Yeah, he grabs his girlfriend in midair.
That's the beginning of the movie.
Oh no, that's the end of another movie.
Oh.
Well, just the thing is, like, it started as like an underground scene movie. You know, like any given movie that's like, it's like, these are like skateboarders in East LA. You know, like this is about.
Yeah, but now people cop it. Now people do it. They copy it.
Well, right, but it started as like, these are about racers, and now it's a superhero movie, and their superpower is car driving. So they like, there's buildings falling and stuff, and they're fighting like submarines, and like there's going to be like aliens in like the 12th one probably. But they're all in cars.
See, that to me is awful.
I want to agree with you, but I do not. It's all about family and business. And
really?
Family and business.
Okay.
And in the next one, it looks like Dom picked business over family.
That's what happened to The Godfather.
Exactly.
So I think we've squeezed it out now that these I want to call them the Hateful Eight movies now.
I think there's more. The Hateful Eight movies. They're trying to tie back more. Making it about business versus family, I think, is the illusion, because there's more people than just your family and just things that.
They're just a spinoff of The Godfather.
There's other human beings who aren't there for your economic benefit, who aren't there to serve your family, and people talk about this being a kind of a reboot of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, but Get Out. Like, might as well have come out in the same year, I feel like sometimes, I mean, I guess we have better outrage, more people seem to be outwardly upset, but then Get Out is great at being like, oh, all y'all that are upset, like, you're part of the problem just as much. As much.
Thank you all so much for listening. Remember to please turn your cell phones off when you're walking, driving, riding a bicycle, or watching a movie.